All right, so thank you, everybody. So I'm just going to give a few short, a quick introduction to John, read a little bit of his bio, and then show some images of his exhibition. John, is there anything you want to say really quick before you say hello to everybody really quick before I read your bio?
Oh,
Since-
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. Hi, Heber. Hi, everyone. Thanks for this. Thanks for Armory to organize this. Go ahead, Heber. Yeah.
All right, cool. So John Ziqiang Wu is originally from Tangzhen, China. He's an artist and educator who lives and works in Los Angeles. He received his BFA in Fine Art from Art Center College of Design in 2013 and his MFA in Photo Media from the California Institute of the Arts in 2017. Who is the co-founder of Learning Art and Art Learning Studio, an art tutoring workshop he has run with his wife, Yinan, in Chino, California since 2014. Wu's solo exhibition, the third thing was on view at Todd Madigan Gallery at Cal State University Bakersfield in 2019. He's been included in group exhibitions, numerous group exhibitions at SALT in Istanbul, Night Gallery here in Los Angeles, at the Pasadena Museum of California Art. He's also performed along Asher Hartman in the performance Annie Okay at the Hammer Museum, and that was in 2010. But and he has like we're going to talk about more about this later, but he has a series of published book. He's published several books. The most recent one called One Day Intern, which I'm really excited to talk to him about tonight. But we're going to start with his exhibition at the Armory from 2020. I'm just going to share my screen and show some images of his work. And then we'll be kind of talking over some of those images as a sort of like reminder of the exhibition. I'm not sure if I know Millie and a few others here at the in the chat have were able to see the exhibition, colleagues at the Armory, but for those of you who weren't able to see the exhibition, I'm going to be sharing some images now. Um, and, okay. So let me start at the beginning. Are you all seeing this okay?
Yes.
Great. Let me see. So here is this exhibition was presented at the Armory Center for the Arts. I mentioned it opened February 9th, 2020. It was originally scheduled to go through March 29th. It was extended uh, to go through August shortly after. Uh, um, but as I mentioned earlier, it was unfortunately cut short. Um, So originally, when I was working with John to organize this exhibition, I really wanted him to present his these amazing watercolor drawings. And the project that I had seen, I've seen images of the work he did he did at the Todd Madigan Gallery in Cal State University Bakersfield, and that amazing structure that was constructed alongside students there when he was an artist in residence, um, and it, it just it matched the ethos of what I feel like is a really special thing we have at the Armory, where art learning and art presentation, art making, kind of all come together into this amazing presentation. So I really wanted to host his work at the Armory, and we were able to find a time to do so early last year. So a lot of these works uh, map his journey through his arts education, um, and depict a lot of them depict some of the places that he's been um, he's been a student at. He's taking classes. He's participating and learning. But his something that really drew me to his work. I've known John for quite a while, and he always has like this really amazing way of capturing humor in the everyday. And a lot of that can be seen in some of the work in this exhibition. Uh, Seeing like the way he connects his commute, he makes artwork based on his commute, the things he like the small moments of absurdity in everyday life. And um, that's a quick uh, um, I guess summary of the exhibition. But is John, feel free to chime in if you see any works that you want to highlight.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
I'm just showing the general overview of the exhibition, which is called Art Making.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, thanks, Albert. Albert saw the show at the Cal State Bakersfield, and so part of the show actually is kind of the work is from the show I had at Bakersfield, and but the Armory has a, I mean, the upstairs is really kind of L shape, kind of this kind of gallery space, and then there's a so design the space. I was thinking about different kind of rooms. Like one is like a intro rooms, the first one, and then become room is where I'm making art, like kind of referencing my living room, and then so kind of I was thinking about rooms and different kind of uh, art making in the rooms from the upstairs gallery space at Armory.
Yeah, and as we look at some of these images, you can see this really broad range of media and installation. It was included in the as part of the exhibition, and this structure here is the one that I was mentioning. That was we were able to transport the work from or the structure from Cal State Bakersfield and show this and as part of the exhibition. And so some of the books are here in this front room. And as you can see with the small chairs, John was very considerate of the young people in our audience. We have a lot of young people in our audience at the Armory, and there was spaces for them to sit. The height of some of the works was considered when installing the pieces, and there was even this amazing participatory art making area at the towards the back of the exhibition, where kids, anyone could participate. Um, but it was great seeing the little ones activating it during the opening. There was a lot of art uh, art supplies there, and people could were invited to post their creations onto this structure that John designed. Um, and so slowly through the course of the exhibition, we saw it fill up. And looking at those was actually a great pleasure of mine, going up and seeing all the great drawings that came from people who visited the exhibition. Okay, so those are That's just so you can get a sense of the exhibition. It definitely, the images definitely don't capture everything. Hopefully, some of what we've talked about here is has given you a sense of what the exhibition was 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 trying to convey. But a big kind of a big part of the exhibition, there was I didn't we didn't get a great image of it, but there was a window piece that faced one of the big paintings that you might have seen in those um, images, and that was like a kind of pointing back to his to John's domestic space, his living space, a large window that faces that same painting that was included in the show. You saw the rug area down there in the in that we John wanted to include this the rug. I think there was even an outlet, a fake outlet, a light switch was it? Yeah, it was a light switch. That was part of the installation that was kind of trying to recreate some of that space that he uses has his studio, and including that in the exhibition, and that little the spider rug, which was a great touch. So John, so part of since part of your exhibition focused on like this like multiple roles that your home studio that your home plays, it was your studio. At that point you were teaching, it was your teaching classroom. Those the little small sculptures that were part of that display, the structure, were made by some of your students, but it's also your living space. It was like where you, your son, your wife lived on a daily basis. So I'm curious how your relationship changed, since everybody kind of went into uh, these stay-at-home orders. You were kind of already working in a mode where you were collapsing space, different um, sort of layers of space within your practice.
Yeah, after the lockdown, and then for sure, I'm now. I mean, my class is closed. I mean, we are not teaching at home, so all the space kind of become my son's space. So I'm occupied by my son, and then um, so I mean, I'm working at home. I used to work at home, so I think I kind of established this kind of system to work at home, and then but during the pandemic, and then so I'm not teaching. I the first I didn't teach for probably few months, and then now even on Zoom. So the space is yeah, it's become my son play, and then so I'm hopefully making some art by watching when while watching him to play, and then so really kind of become um focus on kind of family and how like, and also I was trying to so we kind of knew it's going to be a long term. It's not going to be gone for a couple of weeks, and then so I try to be I want to be productive, and then so I try to set up rooms with a different function. Like my bedroom can be kind of like a brainstorm room, and then the living room can be making small drawings, and then the garage can be making paintings. So this kind of different kind of station helped me to try to be productive, and then so every I mean all the entire family can be at home, and then so my son there's no more school, and then I don't know what was okay at the beginning, but after 16 months, I mean it's kind of all the system kind of crashed. Yeah, right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually I do credit you. While we were planning this exhibition, it was we were planning this show at least a month or two in advance. You were one of the first people that I spoke to where I think you really had some insight as to how big our kind of response to the COVID-19 pandemic would be. I remember just it came up in sort of a conversation, and it was I think Until then, I was just kind of like there was different things being said on the news. But I think we had a conversation at some point, and he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty serious." And then like just like a month later, I think we were all kind of realizing that here in the U.S. at least, it was going to be a very serious thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and I like that you brought up your son because there is he had artwork in the exhibition as well, right? He had that game board.
Hmm. Yeah, it's just something. Yeah, and so like the beginning of the pandemic, and I feel I had a lot of energy and to make something with my son, to play some with my son, to design some kind of activity at home, try to keep him busy and try to get away from TV more, or um uh so I was and I even made a folder, like his folder, my folder, and then let's making something together and then document them so create some kind of photo album, and then you're taking a picture, and then I'm gonna try to help you to archive them. Kind of, I think everyone's kind of is a pandemic. Is something gonna be remembered for a long time, and then so I think everybody is working on something related to, and then so me too, and since and then I even my son working on something, taking pictures when we hike, when we do sidewalk, and then so all the pictures I try to print things out, and then making a photo album for him too. Um, I don't know, try to make something and try to keep him busy and try to keep myself busy too, and also hopefully can become something later on. And yeah, I mean, right now it's kind of I don't know. So my son watch a lot of YouTube now.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of learning opportunities on YouTube as well. Yeah, so would you say that since you were working in this mode, as your exhibition kind of pointed to, that you were a little bit more prepared to shift from kind of a studio practice to like a work from home? Those changes that everybody kind of faced, like at the Armory, we're still working from home, at least in part, many of us, and we're going to continue doing so for at least partially for the foreseeable future. Do you think you were like a little bit more prepared just because of the mode that you were working in already with like your teaching space and studio space kind of being at home? I know that you mentioned that it was like you had to at the beginning of the lockdown you had to like designate areas, but you feel that was a bit easier transition for you?
Yeah, for me, I feel pretty nice at the beginning because I mean I feel kind of I mean I don't have to teach at that moment. I mean I can teach, and then so everything kind of concentrate home, family, and then I need to take care of the kids, um and also at the same time I produce smaller scale work like watercolor, so it's not something I have to think about. Not something I have to set up, and not something I have to read a book or something. Or do a lot of research. Something I just kind of pay attention on things around me and then making smaller drawing, and I can also watch him. So it's benefit at the beginning. It's like I feel productive. Um, uh, yes, and but for sure I'm not teaching, so kind of so I don't have to worry about that. But later on, I start teaching on Zoom. Um, I mean, everyone been through a lot through the year plus, and then a lot of experiences we just went through really fast. And we're still kind of experiencing. I feel the documentation, the archive, and then something your nose or something you notice something or something you want to remember or the whole experience. I think something you have to really is going to be a slow process to unfold. So I don't know, I'm kind of just right now kind of um yeah, there's a lot of things through the year, and then I'm kind of review or looking
Still processing.
testing, and then and making new work and making the work from the memory. Mhm.
Yeah, that's part of the impetus of starting this active voice series. It's like the subtitles, conversations at the intersection of art, community, and social justice. But it is like an exercise in reflection for the last year that we had, touching on a lot of the themes that because it did feel like like so much happened and so many things that impact us in very big ways, and I feel like and having a moment to reflect and having conversations that reflect back on what we're going through and like capture some of those moments and ideas and feelings, and could be good to explore. In the chat, if anyone, as we're talking about strategies, shifting that we shifted to work from home, art making that we shifted to doing at home, if anyone wants to share any creative strategies that you had for that, feel free to do so in the chat. And also any big kind of moments that you feel like you want to reflect on from the past year. So I do, you mentioned you started teaching back on Zoom. I do want to focus on that for a little bit right now. Um, you have this project called Art Learning and Learning Art Studio. And so you've attended different types of institutions, and with a very different type of art training and pedagogical models that have informed your practice. So can you tell us, can you give us a quick summary of like that history of your education and how you approach teaching?
Yeah, I born in China and I grew up there, and then so I had a kind of completely different kind of art training, more like called academic art, and also the purpose of making art or practicing art, for like a I mean like a middle school, high schooler in China I might a year. It's more like a for exam. So like you pass the exam, you can get into the college, or art program in like a higher education, and then I got into that one of the art school, and then I moved to here, and everything is kind of totally different. So I went to PCC for many years, and then I studied at the Otis for one semester, and then finished my bachelor at the Art Center, and then finished my MFA at Harvard. So kind of, and also I've been teach throughout all the years when I was in school. So and also um, I dropped off school in 2008 because my family had some issues. So I didn't making art in this kind of
That was from Otis, right?
yeah. I dropped off school from Otis and then work and then taking care of my dad for about 2 3 years, and then um, didn't make like institutional art, like a conceptual painting, but it's my smaller everyday watercolor painting start from there. So I kind of capture the moment, family, and then my father's illness and how we went through that period of time. So I made a book later on. So and throughout this kind of institutional learning, and also I I start. I mean, I've been teaching since I came to here, so work at different studio, and then I start like a learning art learning um studio. I mean, it's a weird name, but it's kind of it's kind of referencing like learning art is something more for general, right? So more like for everybody. Everybody can learn art, different kind of art, different model of art learning. But our learning become into the kind of discipline, like institutional, and you want to learn art through to a goal to professional artist something. So I make something together as a name, kind of yeah, because I made a book later on called Learning Our Learning Society. Mm. Yeah, so kind all different kind of institution and then different model of learning. But I teach I teach students. I mean, I also it's a big range of ages, like from 5 to high school, or I even have adults. So to me, it's kind of a challenge, but also it's rewarding because it's not like I'm running a business. It's something kind of tutoring or kind of smaller classroom. So the student I taught when they was 11, like 7, 8 years old, they study with me for like another 8 years. So you kind of know them really well, and then they know you really well, become some kind of personal relationship, and then mm, that's very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of that relationship you have with your students and like seeing them grow, in your book, the book that's based on this, the that you referenced just now, the Art Learning and Learning Art Society, um, there's this really amazing story, and it's this. You identify a great moment that you had in your teaching where you come to realize that like the all the learning that you're taking from being an educator, from teaching art, um, and how that informs your practice. That's one of the kind of really touching moments in that book.
Yeah, yeah. It's a story of Tammy and John. The like the yeah. I mean, yeah, I think in the book there's a story of Tammy and John, and they were my friends, and we met from PCC, Pasadena City College, and then they were in their 60s, but we know each other for years, and then I've been their tutor for years too, so we built really, really strong relationships, and then um, they have really, really kind of different kind of relationship with art making, and then some kind of structure, and then like Tammy is an older sister, and then John is younger brother. John has some kind of mental illness, and then Tammy represent John in many different ways in life, and then so kind of and then Tammy decided what is good for John. Learning art is good for John, and then Tammy wanted to learn art because Tammy had a dream when she was young, and then so become fine artist. But her parents want her to get a stable job, so she had a career in fashion. And then after she retired, she tried really hard to become a fine artist, but her idea of becoming a fine artist is like a start learn art from scratch, so like all the way from beginning, and then learn all the kind of fundamental things, and then she didn't even think about what she had in her fashion design or her life experience and how to use them um, to become the material to work on the fine art. So there's different kind of belief and different kind of like a expectation of what is art, and for Tammy, and then for me, is I was trained at a art center or like an institutional art. So I always think about Tammy's art was it's like an amateur, but I but because I mean it's really hard for me to believe they can get into fine art work because they're trying to making art they're Tammy want to learn art all the time, learning art, and then so later on for me to realize, oh, Tammy has strong, real relationship with art making through learning art. It's not it doesn't have to be making art to have to show in the museum, but just like to learn art. Try to so she mentioned, I know what I need to learn. This is something kind of it's amazing, like the art, the different people have different kind of expectation for art and different idea of art, so art become a gift. Art can engage all kind of audience or all kind of art makers. Doesn't have to be push yourself so hard into this kind of institutional art. Just it can benefit from art making. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that nuance that that you're talking about, that that realization of like identifying all the kind of having your history of your arts education, uh, and identifying the different types of teaching that each institution kind of comes along with it, and then seeing somebody who's like has a completely different approach and understanding, you can kind of like appreciate all the levels, and understand that there is not one that is better or worse. It's just like what is the what is the best approach for that person, or what that person takes from it for their life. um, yeah, that was like something really special. I think that you can kind of take away from that that book, um, and it's part of the reason when I was thinking about um, creating this program about the fact that a lot of us kind of went from uh, working in a space outside of the home to the events called home studio teaching art and learning during the pandemic. I think a lot of the themes of your exhibition kind of pointed and like for me reinforced a lot of the things that kind of came up to the surface during the quarantine period. Just like these different moments, because art became like these everyday activities for some people, like as a way to like either keep busy, keep your mind off other things happening in the world, as a way to just fill the time that you have at home because you're out of series to television to watch. But they're like that, so the value there isn't any more or less for your life. Um, you can't kind of put that compare that to like what you learn at an arts institution that is like uh, supposed to be more valuable,
Mm.
right? Um, and so we've been talking. You mentioned your publication that you made in response to your father's illness, and then you also brought up the Art Learning and Learning Art Society publication. So I do want to point to the fact that the books were actually one of the things that drew me into the work that you created, at least these watercolor drawings, like the personal the the personal nature of the narratives, and like these really like whimsical drawing styles that were a lot of them pulled, you could tell were pulled from everyday life, but also you were painting like combining elements. Um, some moments, like I mentioned, like of like everyday absurdity. Can you tell me when you started producing the books and how you see them functioning in your practice?
Uh, um, a lot of my okay. I think back to I mean, I had back to like those kind of art training in China is more like academy art, so it's just like a representation, and then came why after I came to here, I realized that's not enough. And then so at PCC, so you have to think about how to find a backstory, right? How to find a story, how to think about the content of the art. So it was really hard for me to think about conceptually. And then so I mean, all the books, the narrative and this, and from personal experience for sure. But I've been making a lot of work uh, um, at Art Center. Even I didn't do any book at Art Center, but all the work with the backstory. So the story was kind of verbal story, and but I didn't make book. But I started making book at Cowers. Um, Even I made all the watercolor drawings about my family, my father, in 2009, 2010, but it didn't make into a book. And then so all the books kind of I finished 4 books last year of CARS, so 2 years MFA program, and then I feel the books Because when you look at a smaller watercolor drawing, the first impression probably is the illustration, and then I feel even this there's some kind of I use white space a little bit differently. I know there's a little bit fictional, but also but the impression is the illustration. And if a lot of my work is start from a smaller everyday gesture, but over time. So I feel like each book, like the lamp story and I made, or the hammer book, the one day intern, they are kind of over a long period of time, like a same subject, and then I just stick on it for a year or 2 years, and then later on, you like to kind of make it into a book format, and then you can think about how to retell the story. Even you have a show, maybe showing the work, and the book's telling a new perspective of the work. I feel so interesting, so benefit. But how did I begin? I think telling story is kind of I remember when I was rethinking art at art center, the first class as a freshman. Actually, with Andrea too, we're in the same classroom, and then so I mean I have a backstory of the work I show. So like there's a backstory.
Yeah. And by the way, everyone, the Andrea's my wife. uh, um, so yeah, you mentioned when they intern. Please tell us about that book. I actually had my copy that Irene Tsatsos, my colleague at the Armory, who's here on this call, gifted me. Um, with me here, but it's just out of reach. So I was planning on showing it to the camera, but yeah, it's in the it, if you saw, yeah, that's it. It's if you saw the announcement image for the talk tonight. That's part of that was one of the images that was included. So the title is One Day Intern, but tell us the subtitle, because that's I think it's another reason kind of that relates to this moment of learning and teaching as well. And it's also something else that kind of was impacted for you by the kind of the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about the background of that book?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I was lucky, and then the Hammer curator Aram, and he reached out to me for residency, and then so what should I do? So I made a proposal for for and normally the residency is 3 months, and then a proposal for longer residency. So I mean I said maybe 1 year. So what should I do for 1 year arts residency? So I was thinking I mean I normally go to I'm not living in LA, so like I'm live like a San Bernardino County, so a little bit outside LA. So I normally go to Hammer from the past like maybe a few times a year or 3 times a year. So through the residency kind of I think it's a really good opportunity to go to Hammer more, and then it can be nice to s- to do something with the different departments. I propose like 1 day intern at different departments. So Hammer has 15 department, and so it took me kind of a year to went through all the departments, and then we other scheduling, and then uh, there's sometimes that one department has a smaller departments too. Um, so I'm kind of so glad I finished all the intern or an official intern just before everything locked down. Um, and then the subtitle called "The Value of Learning Something New." I feel is I didn't know what I can do at that point. I know if I just keep engaged with the museum, with the people who work at the museum, what I see and then what I encounter, I feel there's something I can for sure. There's something I can make through the process. Um, so I so that's something I took picture and then making drawing, making notes, and then I actually made the books during the pandemic. Um, yeah, I made all the kind of preparation before the pandemic through the residency, but I made a book at the beginning of the pandemic. Mm.
Yeah, and I love that the subtitle is like the value of learning something new, because it was like you were working on it during the pandemic, and I think it was a moment when a lot of us were, because we were at home, because our normal day to day was interrupted, perhaps maybe our work situation was interrupted. We A lot of us uh, uh, were on the path to learning something new. Even if it wasn't like a new skill, it was a new way of living, a new way of interacting with people virtually or other ways. So in the chat, yeah, feel free to share any like new skills, any new learnings that you had during the pandemic. So I think the value of learning something new that is reflective of the Hammer residency that you had. But do you think there were also moments where you were able to teach some of the departments there something, or you have that great image of you with the floor sweeper thing that was part of the announcement as well. Do you think there was any moments where you can point to that there was like a mutual learning happening, or you were teaching people at the Hammer something?
I don't really know because I only had 1 day with them, each department. So probably they learned something from me. I don't know, it, but it was weird because they know you only came here for 1 day, and then we just getting to know you a bit, and you're probably not gonna see each other again. And also there's a lot of awkward moment too, and then how to deal with John. And John is not really real intern, and then either something put us into a competition and then which department is better, and then so I don't know what they're thinking, and then but they probably learned something from me. I don't know. It's weird why there's artists to intern, because a lot of department they normally just like finance department. They in the museum, but they're not really doing part of the art stuff, and then but they like being in the museums. They can learn something new. So I saw some kind of people they from the finance like accountant, and then she also sometimes Hammer before they open to public, they have an inside kind of tour to the inside stuff. What is what is the show about? And then so I saw the people not really from like a finance department. They went to there to learn something they normally um, hard to engage, right, or hard to encounter. That's really nice too. Um, and then Yeah, and and one more thing from the title, learning something new is I feel everybody has a blind spot, right? So you only know what you know, and then there's always something to you don't know, and then but we deeply believe something we already know, and then sometimes and also make a judgment, right? So based on that, so I feel there's a lot of room you can relearn or learn something new, um, and then just keep learning like it's life journey. I feel it's probably from my different learning background, like different kind of model for institution learning background, also teaching. There's parents, there's like students, there's adult students, and then they have different belief in art, they have different expectation, and then sometimes they know what art is good, and then they already know how to value art from their perspective, and then sometimes really hard to change because they deeply believe in. I feel the book's also something just question your structure of knowledge, right? Sometimes probably nobody know the truth, and then you have to keep learning, and then have a conversation. um, yeah.
It's beautiful, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think, and that sentiment I think is especially relevant. It's been relevant in the past year, but even today, as we kind of relearn how to be in society, change all or change our kind of approach to being with others, kind of not reiterating some of those like ingrained teachings. Be willing to learn something new as we try and grow from this experience of the past year. I do want to open it up at this point for any questions that anyone might have, either if you want to put them in the chat or if you feel so inclined to unmute yourself, please do so now. We have about 10 minutes.
I just wanted to mention this past year to have a break like this with all the reflection during a time of horrible turmoil. So many people ill, were worried about going out. All my classes changed to online or they didn't run at all. I mean, not having classes at the Armory was one of the saddest things about this year. I love my students. I love the Armory. I'm so glad I got to see John's show before it closed down. I came with my friend from Art Center, Tony Antoinette Adams. Do you remember her, John?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, we came to see your show together. She went to Art Center. I guess were you her instructor?
Me? No, I was a classmate with the internet.
Oh, you're a class. Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
a classmate of hers.
Okay.
But teaching online is so different how you interact with students. But the best thing about it, everyone needed to get their brand out there. I saw so much art, performance art. I saw so many photographers, Mocha, Aperture. All the curators gave talks. I got to hear things from people all over the world, how they felt about their art, how they felt about photography. A lot of people that never had a chance to have a voice with more awareness of diversity. I saw people at the Huntington and at many different venues I would have never had the opportunity to see before. That was a net positive. No question. That was very win-win. I love that. I think that will change when we get back. But at this point, this year and a half is it's been wonderful that way to see so many different voices. Although Zoom is not wonderful, but you know what I mean. It was a great opportunity to hear people I would have never. And a lot of the things I heard from the New York Times and, for instance, MoMA in New York, those would have been paid admission events before, even online, and they were free to the public. So it's nice. That part was good, but it's been terrible not teaching in person. And I'm starting now in person classes, and it's pretty terrifying. I'm teaching high schoolers; none of them have been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, definitely a new reality that we have to face. That re-entering those social dynamics. Yeah,
Right.
but thank you for bringing up that this kind of moment of accident. I think somebody else in the chat had mentioned earlier as well the accessibility of some of these online programs, having being able to see things around the world, essentially. Um, whereas before you either had to travel or happen to be there.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a question in the chat for John about working on his art from home. How do you minimize distractions, or how do you find a way to work with them?
Yeah, for sure. It's a lot of distraction, and I wake up earlier than my son. Right, I sleep later than my son, and then so and then but during the day, and then I can make a smaller watercolor. That's something I can watch him and I can make. But something if I want to do put the book together, so I have to work out. I have to by myself, and I have to wake up early, and then so I can concentrate on making a book. But also I feel I feel it's really healthy. The artist can making conceptual part of the work and also can making like a hands-on work, like you making like a watercolor with a brush. That's something different kind skill. I feel it's really healthy benefit. If you do all day long with the conceptual work, that can be hard. I feel the drawing of making is really benefit, special during that period of time. And then yeah, so, how to work with the distraction. Yes, I'm making frustrating and also challenging. I made many kind called like a notes painting. So there's some kind of quotation, some notes, and try to learn, or try to get into my head, like put my phone away before go to my bedroom. So I make a painting of that, and then so hopefully I can get in my head. Everybody know put the phone away, but nobody do it. But I try to make an art about that. So I hopefully, well, I value art more. So hopefully the painting, so in my room, gonna help me to keep me I don't know, keep me give me some kind of power to put my phone away, or some kind of other quotations. Just kind of help me to get in my head, and then um, I don't know. So like the function of art, hopefully from the frustration to making art about that, and help me reduce a little bit. Hopefully, um, that's I made a lot like those kind of text painting.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what that painting looks like. The put your phone away painting. Um, so we have a couple of questions here. Uh, Millie asked, "Who is your biggest inspiration or motivation?"
Uh, uh, I don't know, something. It's not hard to uh,
Well, as you think on that one, I'm going to read
yeah,
Asher
yeah.
Hartman's question. Um, I think you may have answered this, but do you see your work as integrating art education, the need for art in the human, and the museum's role as educational institution? Are they purposely integrated in your work?
What's the last part? What's the last part?
So I think they're asking about the kind of the purposefulness of integrating art education and the need for art in the human, and the museum's role as an educational institution. So like seeing those kind of how education is integrated in the institution, and then the need for people to make art, and how those are integrated in your practice. How it's, like, is that something that's purposeful in your work?
Museum. I mean, Armory is kind of small museum. I mean, so the show I had has kind of some kind of like pedagogy approach. Like there's a drawing table. There's a um. But I mean, those kind of components in my life is kind of just happen. I mean, I learned art many years, right, through my childhood too, and then something I'm good at, and then so I need to make a living too, and then just I kind of get into art teaching kids art, and teach teaching kids art in different kind of studio at first, uh, and then I moved, and then I start my own little studio from one student to more students, and also through this kind of teaching, and also I was learning too. So I think kind of something just kind of maybe lucky me, and then I think I feel there's a lot of people teaching and making, but I don't know. I just feel something kind of everything. Um,
I will say that I think that because you had such a wide variety of types of learning, like from like academy that was so focused on realism and replicating things visually as realistically as possible, to like the conceptual, like a powerhouse that CalArts is. Like the art center is known for like their design and really like hard focus on fundamentals. Like I think like being like a part of like these different types of institutions, you could really like, you had a really good way of like pulling out and identifying what those types of pedagogies were, and like deconstructing them, and sort of finding ways interpret them for yourself and realizing like how you could convey push back and also convey some of those ideas in your own teaching.
And also because I went through different kind of model of learning, I feel like a lot of if people only have a Western art education through like those kind of contemporary art school, um, I feel people look those kind of academy art like a representational painting, more down because I feel it's more like not intellectual, just like a craft. I feel they all kind of art learning, and then they they have different purpose and they have different beneficial for different for different people too. And then for me, I think if I didn't do this kind of crafting art learning and I couldn't make that watercolor and I don't have that kind of sensibility on my hand or something. I feel you went through different model of art learning, so you know how to appreciate, and then when you're teaching, and then uh, you want to teach them everything. It's not just one thing, and a lot of students they just want to learn one thing, or they think, oh, I'm really good at oil painting, so other things it's not mine. It's like it's something. It's so it's now it's just something else. I feel if a student like this, I feel it's I mean you're young, you don't really know what's your thing yet, and I feel so there's a different kind of art model, our learning model, and a different kind of art, and then different kind of perspective to look at different art. I feel just that if they can just open that more for like accepting more, and then it has more curiosity, um, probably really good for long term. Probably is not good for getting to entertainment design at our center, but good for long term. Like that. Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We are running. We are putting up against our time. We were scheduled to go through 8:30. But I just want to ask one last question because I think this is a big moment for you, and especially given our conversation tonight. You just moved into a studio space that is not at home. So how do you think that's going to affect your practice?
I don't know. This is my probably the first week, so I don't know yet, but I'm kind of uh, um, frustrating too. I mean, it's everything moving, and then I'm starting um, teach in person with smaller group students, and then with the mask on for sure. But I don't know, just something really good to see them. But also I don't know, I'm just looking forward for the new year, and then try to be busy, and then try to produce more, and then cross fingers for the new studio. Hopefully, bring me something new. Yeah, I mean, just something. I mean, after the 16 months, right? How can I open up my home to student come in, and then also I need to keep my class rent too. I feel there's something. This is the point. I have to do something outside of my home. Yeah.
Yeah, well, best wishes to that. It's an exciting time to kind of expand your studio in that way. Especially at this time, there's going to be lots of room to grow. I feel like lots of new learnings. Uh, that's exciting. So yeah, if you all have not had the pleasure of reading any of John's books, I highly recommend doing so. You will, if you haven't read any of his books, you'll get another appreciation of our conversation tonight, and you'll be able to see some of those connections. So thank you everybody for joining tonight. Thank you again to John Wu for joining me, having this great conversation, looking back at your exhibition and your work and your time during quarantine. Thank you to Irene Satsos, my colleague at the Armory, for supporting us here in the chat and doing some like back end monitoring. And thank you, everybody. for attending this evening. Have a great rest of your night. And hopefully we'll see you all at the Armory on July 16th when we open up.